fellow walkers. I am doing another blanket, and this one is a cotton blanket with fleece. And right now I am pinning the blanket together, as you can see. So I am going to pin this blanket. So the first thing I do is iron the cotton. And if I'm using flannel, sometimes I iron the flannel as well. So I lay it out with the right sides together. So this is the right side of the anti-pill fleece. I did some research just to make sure I was right. But anyway, this is the right side, this is the right side, and I pin them all together. So once I get done pinning, I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to continue pinning. I broke out the tripod and everything so that you can watch me pin this. Now, one thing about cotton under fleece is that cotton moves around and the fleece moves around. So as I'm going along, I not only pin up here, but I'll also pin in the center. So that way, as I'm moving along, the fabric stays with it and it doesn't start to buckle or create ripples in it. So I do that here as well. So, whoops, sorry. So as you can see, I've pinned in the middle, and then I try to flatten it out so that there are no ruffles. So it's all pinned, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut, because as you can see, the fabric is longer than the fleece. Cut this to line it up with the fleece. When you square it up or line it up real good, it helps you to sew better. Because you know exactly where you're sewing. Okay, so there we go. Blanket's all squared up and ready to sew. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to sew a straight stitch, and I'm going to leave room to turn it inside out. So I like to mark my start and stop where I'm going to turn it inside out at. So I will put a little blue pin here, and then I'll put another one about right here. So that's going to be my start and stop. And then what I'll do is I'll start here, and I'll sew all the way around, and I'll stop here. And that'll give me enough area to take my hand and stick it in and turn it inside out. So let me take this one over to the sewing machine and straight stitch it. All right. What I did is I straight stitched it all the way around. I know that fleece is a little bit of a stretchy material, but for the purposes of what I'm doing, I'm not worried about it stretching. As you can see, there's a couple little puckers here that didn't turn out so well. Just kind of puckered a little bit. Fleece is not that. Let me see if I can get that in the camera shot. There you go. Fleece is a little hard to work with because it's a stretchy material, but overall, that's basically, hopefully you can see all of that. That's what it looks like on one side. So I did leave an opening for me to turn the blanket. But before I do the turning, I like to clip the corners so that the corners will be nice and sharp when I do turn it. So I'm clipping corners here. I'm cutting corners. Ha! All right, and then here's another one. Helps when you turn it for it to be nice and sharp. Just cut close to the corner and cut diagonal Just don't cut the stitch. Now here I had a little bit of extra material, so I'm getting ready to fix this. Because as you can see, this side is a little weird and wonky, and that was because the fleece wasn't cut straight as I was sewing. So I'm going to just come down this edge here, careful not to cut on the stitch. So what I'm doing is just kind of cutting off some of this excess material here, because the fleece wasn't quite the way I wanted it to be when I was sewing. It kind of moved around just a little bit, and it created a bit of a bigger seam allowance than I wanted. Not that big of a deal. It doesn't really change the overall blanket. It's just that what I'm trying to do is make it a little neater for when I turn it inside out. And as you can see, I really don't have to do that on the rest of the blanket because everything else looks decent. There we go. There's my opening. So I'm going to go in and get this and pull it through. Go in through here, get this other side, and I'll pull this through. So I'm, in effect, turning it inside out. See? And then, after I do that, and take this crochet hook right here, take the crochet hook, and I'm going to stick it through here and pucker out the corners. See that? Makes the corners nice. I'm going to do that for all of the sides. Make the corners nice and sharp, if you will. Go into this corner here. Make that nice and sharp. All right. So now it's turned inside out. Isn't that nice? Look at that. So that's the front of the blanket, and that's the back of the blanket. So the next thing I'm going to do is, you see how it's like a little puckered or whatever, not real straight. I like to straighten these out. So I'm going to take it over to the iron. I'm going to iron this nice and flat. And then once I iron that nice and flat, I'm also going to tuck this in so that it creates that line. There you go, like that. And then after that, I will take it over to the machine and do a decorative stitch. So let me iron this down. Okay, so I've ironed everything down. You see how nice and even that is? Looks really, really good. This is where I turned it. So we're going to zoom in on that real quick. So this is where I turned it inside out. And now you see I ironed down that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the start of this like this, and I am going to mark the end of it. So this is where the opening begins and ends. And then what I like to do, and because I'm dealing with this fleece and I want it to stay straight, I'm going to do my pins in a different direction. You don't have to use that much. I really just want this thing to be nice. All right. So now that we've got this turned inside out and ironed nicely, we're going to take it over to the machine and we're going to go ahead and sew the decorative stitch. As you can see, some of the stitches some of the stitchers are done. The machine is actually doing it. So here's the process. Basically, I'm lining my material up, or my fabric up, with this line right here, and I use this washi tape so that as the material is going through, see, or as the fabric is going through, it's kind of lining up with that. And then I don't pull tight. I just allow the machine to kind of push it through at its own pace. And right now I'm sewing with like a cute little pink thread. I love this color thread. It's not, I had another color pink in there, but it was blending in with the material a bit too much, or with the fabric. I keep saying material, but I mean fabric. So I'm going on and pushing this, letting this kind of guide itself through. And as you can see, it's pretty much doing it itself. So this is not an embroidery machine, it's just nice stitches. So As if you can see this, it's pink on this side and white on the other side. And because it's a fleece blanket, the white thread is deeper in, and so you don't see the decorative stitch as much because of the thickness. Alright, walkers, I'm going to keep on pushing this through and trying to make sure I line it up until I get to the other side. And I'm going to show you how I do my corners. So if you want to hang on to that, you can do that. But the way that I get my corners going through here, I'm not too worried about having a leaf up in the corner. I'm really worried about making sure that as I get to the corner that I line it up properly so that it's even. So I'm going slow. So what I do is I kind of turn it. Nope, not there yet. So a little bit more. I'm going to go real slow now. And the needle is down, so now I'm going to turn it. And then that allows me to make sure I'm lining it up even all the way around. And so it'll put a little, as you'll see it go through, it puts a little bit of a leaf up in the corner for me. When I do it that way, it kind of starts part of the leaf. But anyway, that's how I turn the corner. All right, walkers, I'm going to keep on doing this. And when I'm done, you'll be able to see the finished product. Okay, we're all done. We have our decorative stitching right there. So we have all of our decorative stitching going down. This is the back. This is the front. So this is the entire blanket all done. If you would like to purchase this, let me know. There'll be an Etsy link in the bottom of this.